think the Texans are going to win their division. I think they're in the top of the conference.
You look at what CJ Stroud did without Stephon, imagine what he's going to do with him. Yes, the whole city is going crazy down there in Houston. They can't wait for it.
First team ever, as we've mentioned before, to acquire in the same offseason a 1,000-yard rusher, a 1,000-yard receiver, and a guy who had 10 or more sacks. First time that's ever happened.
They're loaded at wide receiver, at tight end, at running back. I mean, that team is built to win now. And you think about where the Texans were. They were a laughing stock in the NFL
just 2 years ago. Just 2 years ago.
That's right. And now you look at them and you say, they're as good as anybody right now.
It's time to say something that not many people have been saying. The Houston Texans Super Bowl window is officially open and isn't closing anytime soon. Frustrations at a meaningless win in 2022 to lose them the #1 pick are now a distant memory, because the arrival of CJ Stroud just one pick later has transformed the fortunes of a franchise and turbocharged their rebuild. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how all these new acquisitions and now how the Houston Texans now stand as a legitimate threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC and a Super Bowl contender. Now look, as a Houston Texans fan, it's fair to say you got to be feeling pretty good about your team right now.
About what took place tonight. How y'all feel about the game?
The media is full of praise for your superstar sophomore quarterback, your head coach is a badass who only knows how to deliver success, and your front office knows how to get the job done and acquire talent to get into this win now mode that they are in.
You couple that quarterback with the guys you just talked about, also a very good free agency and a good base meat and potatoes of the team already. Yeah, damn. I mean, the Texans definitely got very, very high expectations from everybody now, and especially with that guy at quarterback.
This is a very different looking Houston Texans franchise to what we are used to. And I mean, you can't help but be excited for the Texans. Nailing the draft is the best way to set your team up for success, and having a long list of high profile hits that have arrived over the last few years have elevated both sides of the ball significantly. And their arrivals from the draft and free agency reflect an organization that believes they are ready to compete and possibly challenge the Kansas City Chiefs as kings of the AFC. And of course, the only reason the Texans are in the position to treat themselves to players like Danielle Hunter and Stephon Diggs over the offseason is because the front office has done such a good job of bolstering their roster with young talent in the draft. And as I've said before in other videos, such as my Detroit Lions rebuild, when the GM and the coaching staff and the whole organization are just on the same page, it leads to success. And by welcoming in CJ Stroud and Will Anderson in 2023 was the absolute pinnacle of this Texans franchise, with Tank Dell also adding to a draft class for the ages. Adding the pillar of the offense and the pillar of the defense in consecutive picks is a dream come true for any general manager. And that's exactly what happened for Nick Caserio during that first round. Both Stroud and Anderson went on to win the Rookie of the Year awards for their respective positions, setting up both sides of the ball for success for many years to come. Like, look, even before that incredible draft class in 2023, players like Derek Stingley Jr., Nico Collins, Jalen Petrie, and Christian Harris have all come in and made a difference. It has been a franchise-altering couple of years for the Houston Texans. And it's crazy to say this, but they've locked up some of the most important positions on the field in like quarterback, edge rusher, even cornerback too, with all rookie contracts. Like just some of the names and positions like quarterback with CJ Stroud, edge defender with Will Anderson, cornerback with Derek Stingley, and wide receiver with Collins and Tank Dell have all of those guys on rookie contracts. And I mean, with all of those players contributing at a high level on bargain deals, the Texans find themselves in the envious position of having cash to burn. And I mean, it's fair to say they have certainly spared no expenses on their shopping spree.
Yeah, watch out for Houston. I like those moves. Shair and Danielle Hunter change the Houston Texans defense and make it, it's pretty good to, whoa, watch out. That might be one of the better defenses in all of football.
Danielle Hunter was the biggest splash for the team, providing DeMeco Ryans with a very exciting skill set to utilize on the opposite end of the defensive line to Will Anderson.
DeMeco Ryans, that 49er scheme where there's not going to be a lot of thinking he's got to worry about. That's where we see this scheme unleash players in a lot of ways, because they don't make their defense ends read a whole lot. They there's the quarterback. Go to him. Don't worry. We'll get some sick, awesome athletic linebackers behind you, and they'll figure out, if you go that way or that way to go as far as going to the quarterback. That's where it becomes special. The Houston Texans quietly are having an incredible start to the offseason and the free agency.
Hunter arrives in Houston fresh off of a career-high 16.5 sacks in Minnesota, where he spent 8 seasons and racked up 87.5 sacks. The dude should be a very impactful player for the Texans, while also providing the reigning Defensive Rookie of the Year with the perfect mentor. Danico Autry also brings a veteran presence to the defensive line, with Al-Shaair rounding up a very tidy defensive haul. The former San Francisco 49ers middle linebacker was a favorite of the head coach DeMeco Ryans during his time in San Francisco, and immediately slots in as a very versatile hard hitter in the center of that defense. And I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, we all know who they've been able to acquire by adding Stephon Diggs to the embarrassment of riches that they have at that wide receiver position.
Yeah, they have vertical speed with the Tank Dell, someone you can get the ball into his hands and go make something happen. You have this route runner extraordinaire with the Stephon Diggs that you can get in those one-on-one matchups. You have a Nico Collins that is a big-bodied guy that can win with some contested stuff. C.J. Stroud, obviously one of the best young quarterbacks, certainly quarterbacks in the NFL. So they have all these different pieces of guys that could play roles, let alone a Dalton Schultz, let alone their draft pick, a Cade Stover. So everyone has got a role that they kind of excel in, and that's perfect for this Bobby Slowick offense.
Like, it just completely bolsters a unit that already included Tank Dell and Nico Collins. CJ Stroud helped both of those players break out in their first and third years respectively, with Nico Collins almost tripling his previous best and posting a very healthy 1,297 yards and 8 touchdowns. He is a very rare combination of size and athleticism who is a legitimate rival to Diggs for the alpha role. Add Dell into the equation as well, and this passing attack will be one of the hardest to defend in the NFL. The Texans didn't stop there though, also bringing in a veteran presence at the running back position in the form of Joe Mixon.
You have Joe Mixon, you have Damian Pierce, 2 guys that can run the ball, not play action. You got those talented receivers out there. I like the Houston Texans and what they've done thus far.
Mixon surpassed the 1,000-yard mark in 4 of his last 6 seasons, while also posing a threat out of the backfield. He is yet another playmaker for defensive coordinators to worry about, rounding out an off-season spending spree that has absolutely transformed the Houston Texans. And as we all know, the biggest factor and biggest contributor of this big turnaround has been CJ Stroud with that number 2 overall selection in last year's draft. And look, we're really never going to know if the Texans were going to pick Stroud from the get-go, since they never really got the chance to take that number 1 overall pick, thanks to Lovie Smith. But even if there was a little bit of luck in getting Stroud to land in Houston, it's certified and safe to say that he is by far one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, if not a top 5 quarterback at that. Like, the dude single-handedly shut down the validity of any of those tests that they give quarterbacks by the outrageous numbers he put up last year and by putting together a record-breaking rookie season.
I think it's huge. And look, they got the 2 most important decisions you can make for a franchise is who's going to be your head coach and who's going to be your quarterback. The face of the franchise has changed entirely, and those 2 guys are going to be doing it for the next 10, 15 years together. But by the way, this rookie, Sam, in my opinion, is playing as well as any quarterback in the National Football League. This is incredible what this kid's doing, and he's doing it without his best receiver. Doubters of Stroud were made to look sillier and sillier as the dude just turned out outrageous performance after outrageous performance. Highlighted by a 470-yard, 5-touchdown performance against Tampa Bay in Week 9. The incredible statistical output not only set a new all-time single-game record for passing yards by a rookie, but also featured an ice-cold game-winning drive that proved he was the real deal. And we all remember this quote before he got drafted too, right?
I'm not a test taker, so I play football for me. But at the end of the day, man, I don't got nothing to prove to nobody, so I'm not going to sit here and explain how I process football. The people who are making the picks know what I can do. So that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, well, I think he proved his point by delivering in that game and proving that he could be equated to like a 10-year vet with that one game. And although CJ enjoyed having a record-breaking season unlike anything we had ever seen out of a rookie quarterback, it was even smarter for the Texans to begin to build out this roster for him and for them to just be successful in the long run. And one quick thing before we start, I wanted to celebrate the recent success of the channel of hitting 13,000 subscribers. So to give back to you guys, I wanted to do a giveaway, and the winner will either get a signed mini helmet or jersey. To enter, simply join the Discord by using the link in the description, as well as following me on Twitter. I highly recommend joining the Discord. We are going to be doing watch parties with little mini giveaways during it all NFL season long, as well as a fantasy league to win some big money too once it gets closer to kickoff. So I'll see you guys over there, but for now, let's get back to the video. In bolstering the offense in the way they have not only put themselves in a position to win now and challenge for the Super Bowl, but they've also ensured that their quarterback gets the best possible situation to continue to develop in. Like, as I said before, you gotta feel good if you're a Texans fan right now. Like, most quarterbacks end up in that second year taking a little bit of a step back just because they have more film on them, things like that, and even just defenses being better. But I don't know if that's gonna happen with Stroud after you give him more weapons. But that also begs another question though, which is, you don't win AFC championships and Super Bowls on paper, because if that was the case, then you could crown the Texans right now. But that's what I think is the craziest part, is even though they look great on paper, I think they're gonna perform just as well as they did last year, if not better, because of those weapons they acquired. Like, when you're looking at the offseason moves alone, there are not many teams that have progressed further than the Texans. Like, look at the AFC alone. They have been able to pinch one of the #1 wide receivers from the Bills and the starting running back from the Bengals. Like, in strengthening their own offense, they've weakened two of their biggest rivals for the AFC title, which is always a bonus. But that leaves the one remaining team that stands out that everybody knows is going for the three-peat, the Kansas City Chiefs. The last time that we did get to see these two teams play was in 2022, in which the Chiefs edged out an overtime victory against a very different looking Texans side. Davis Mills was the starting quarterback, Royce Freeman lined up alongside him at the running back position, and Chris Moore led the wide receiver group. On top of that too, D'Amico Ryans was nowhere in the building too. So I mean, we can't really read into the outcome of that game as a projection for what might happen in 2024. But the lousy lineup of players tells you all you need to know about how far the Texans have come over the last couple of seasons. I truly do believe that this Texans team right now is primed to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. And I expect them to be a real challenger in the AFC, and these are my reasons why. Simply put, you need a game changer at quarterback if you're going to down Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs, and CJ Stroud has already proved himself as that. Over the years, we have seen countless talented quarterbacks fall short in the playoffs and earn a reputation for not being able to get a team across the line. Stroud banished those concerns by scorching the Browns for 274 yards and 3 touchdowns on just 16 completions in his first ever playoff game. He absolutely thrived on the big stage and dissected one of the league's best defenses in embarrassing fashion. It was a resounding way to announce yourself on the playoff stage, and he did so without his second best receiver in Tank Dell. The Texans were already punching well above their weight by now, so it was no surprise when a superior Ravens team swept them aside in the divisional round. But with this loss, it was an invaluable experience for that young Houston roster, and the talent added in 2024 will go a long way to help them get across the line when the next opportunity arises. The turnaround has been spectacular, and it is not far-fetched to say that they will enter the season as the second best team in the conference and Kansas City's primary contender for the AFC title. In addition to that playoff appearance being an invaluable experience for the players, head coach D'Amico Ryans will also have benefited a lot from the experience. All he did was succeed in San Francisco, and he has brought that good fortune with him to Houston. Like, I honestly don't know how he didn't win Coach of the Year award last year. Ryans knows exactly what it takes to succeed in the NFL. He was the Defensive Rookie of the Year with the Texans in 2006 and would go on to win 2 Pro Bowl nominations and a first-team All-Pro selection in 2007 at linebacker. As defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, Ryan's unit gave up the 5th fewest points in the NFL in his first year, before improving to give up the fewest points in his second. During that impressive campaign, the 49ers gave up just 17.2 points per game, which is 1.4 points better than the next best. He has had a similar impact in Houston, improving them from 27th in the NFL on a points conceded per game basis in 2022 to 11th best in 2023. Having now had a year to work with his team and bolster the ranks through trades and free agency, we can surely expect another impressive leap from the Houston Texans defense under Ryans. All in all though, it is a Houston Texans team that, as I believe and as I said before, is primed and ready to contend right now. Like, it's not often that we see a team completely rebuild in 2 seasons, but that's exactly what the Houston Texans have done here. And if you haven't seen my rebuild video on how they've done it, go take a look at that on the channel, because it's been because of those draft picks and being able to hit on just the positions that they've drafted and get a discount at premier positions. But it's all been because of how that they've drafted in order to get to this spot. Like, when you've secured primary positions with cheap ass contracts, then it's going to translate in order to get great players like Joe Mixon and Stephon Diggs to support your jackpot of all picks, CJ Stroud. And as I just said, this has enabled them to treat themselves to high quality veterans who will come in and instantly improve both sides of the ball. And leading the way is a head coach who understands life in the NFL and has a proven track record of success in his very young career. It's the perfect combination of talent, youth, and experience, making the Houston Texans a very dangerous opponent in the AFC and a legitimate contender for a Super Bowl. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comment section below. How good are the Texans going to be? Personally, for me, I'm going to give a little bit of a hot take here, but I think that they're going to be great. I think they're going to be awesome, but I think they're only going to get to like 11 wins. Their schedule looks pretty tough right now, and although the AFC South isn't crazy good, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And as I said before, even though they do have more film on Stroud, I think he still is going to take a great step forward, but it's going to be a little bit tougher for him just as the season goes on. But who knows? I'm just excited to see what happens this year. But as always, let me know in the comment section below, and as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.